What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the vlog. I'm Poopy Dookie. In this video, we'll be playing a $30 tournament with the rebuys. Just one table tournament, so it'll be a nice little home game. Top 2, top 3 getting paid depending on number of entries. 25,000 starting stack, 20-minute blinds, 4 levels of late registration, buybacks, whatever you want to call it. The last 2 videos I've posted have done pretty well thus far, so if you like this video, make sure to go check those out as well. If you like what you see, subscribe for more videos. Further ado, watch me turn my sand into gold or lose it all. Alright, first hand of the night. We're playing 100-200 blinds. We're in level 1, the first level of the tournament, and we see a +1 limp. I raise middle position to 600. The button calls and the limper calls as well. We're headed to a flop going 3 ways. The flop comes, ace-9-5, rainbow board. Beautiful flop for our hand. We have top 2 pair. One of the original lippers checks it to us. We go ahead and bet 600, about quarter pot. We probably could have gone a little bit larger, but this is a size that will get called at a high frequency. Button folds, middle position calls. We're going heads up to a turn. Turn comes, the queen of spades. Pretty good turn for us, doesn't really change much. If we were ahead on the flop, we're probably still ahead on the turn. This is a solid player we're up against, and he's probably not limp calling a hand like ace-queen. He's probably 3-betting that on his own. So that being said, I do think we have the best hand here quite a bit. So when it's checked over to us on the turn, we go ahead and bet 1600. +1 quickly calls our bet. Let's see a river. The river pairs the board, not in the fashion we would have liked though. It's a queen of hearts. So 2 queens now on the board. +1 checks it over to us for a 3rd time. And in hindsight, I do think I should be betting this river. I don't really think he arrives here to this river too often with any sort of queen. I suppose maybe like queen 9 suited or something like that. But for the most part, like, this should be a bet from us. We end up checking it back though. And he shows us ace-4 for a chop. Overall, we had some sizing errors on the flop and the turn, I think, and we also messed up this river pretty badly, so didn't really play this hand very well at all. Next hand comes in the middle of level 2. Since that last hand, we've won a few small pots. We've chipped up to around 30k in stack. We've got an under the gun limp and a middle position call, and when it gets to me, I make it 1600 to go. Blinds fold, both of the limpers call, and we're 3 ways to a flop. The flop comes 7-6-4 with 2 spades. We have the 8 of spades. And in terms of our overall opponent's hand ranges, I think we're doing very well. I think both of my opponents would not take this line with any sort of overpair that beats me. So we're looking at a handful of draws and then some sets potentially that are beating us. Aside from that, we're looking good. So when it checks to us, we go ahead and bet 1600 and both players call. We're off to a turn going 3 ways. The turn comes the 3 of spades. We still have an overpair to the board, and we pick up a flush draw to go along with it. It checks around to us once again, and I think we need to go ahead and target hands like 6 and 7x. Anything that will call a small bet. So we go ahead and bet 4,500. I think in hindsight we should go a little bit smaller to keep those hands in, but half pot is probably okay too. Under the gun player calls our 4,500 and middle position folds. We're heads up to a river. River comes the 10 of spades. Our overpair turns into a flush. However, I think if we bet on this river, we're probably not getting called by anything that we're beating, so I decide to check it back. We show the flush. We're good. He had ace-5 for a straight, and we got a little bit lucky. But nevertheless, we win close to a 20k pot, and we add 11.5k to our stack. Alright, some time goes by. We enter the 3rd level. So now we're playing 300-600. And I look down at ace-deuce of diamonds. There's a middle position limp. The cutoff called the limp, and I'm on the button, and I make it 1800. Ace-X suited hands, especially these low ones, I like to play them a bit aggressively, and I think this is a really reasonable opportunity to go ahead and do that. We've got 2 limps from middle to late position. I smell blood in the water. Let's raise this up. Both the blinds fold, middle position calls, and the cutoff calls, so we're going 3 ways with a suited ace in position. The flop comes Queen Jack 4, rainbow board. Both the limpers check to me, and I have a decision to make. I can either check back and start to give this up, or I can put out a C bet, continue to rep strength, and try and win this here. I choose the latter. I take a size of 1800, the middle position calls, and the cutoff folds. We're heads up to a turn. The turn comes, the 5 of diamonds, beautiful turn card for us. We pick up a backdoor nut flush draw, as well as a draw to a straight, ace through 5, of course. Much to my dismay, and shock too actually, this player leads for 8,000, roughly a pot-sized bet. I was really confused by this at the time. Didn't really know how to approach this situation at all. If you watched my last video, this is the player that called a 4-bet with Queen 2. So that being said, this guy likes to click buttons a little bit. I was under the assumption that if I made a flush or I made a straight, I would get this player's entire stack. So yes, I am getting a crappy price here, calling 8 to win 18,000, but that being said, I do think that the reward outweighs the risk. I think I'm going to call. We end up putting in the call for the 8,000. We're off to a river. The river comes. The beautiful 7 of diamonds. We improve to the nut flush. This player checks it over to me. After betting roughly pot size on the turn, there's really only one option for me here. It's to lick my lips a little bit, thank the poker gods for such a beautiful river, and then put out $20,000 worth of betting discs. Villain tanks for a good while, and eventually says the beautiful words that I love to hear.
Call.
This player found a hero call with pocket eights. We win, and we take down a 60,000 chip pot, adding roughly 31,000 to our stack. This pot will give us a significant chip lead over the rest of the field, and with only 8 or 9 players at the table, we will end up cashing this a high frequency of the time. Shortly after this, we pick up ace-jack and ace-queen. We raise fold both of them, and we chip down a little bit. After these hands, we have about 64,000 in the stack, almost 3 starting stacks. This next hand, I pick up king-jack offsuit on the button. 2 limps in front of me, I raise to 2,400. The big blind calls, one of the limpers call. We're going 3 ways to a flop. The flop comes 9-jack-5 with 2 spades. Checks around to me, and I go ahead and size up to 4,000. I need a little bit of protection given this is a wet texture. Nobody involved in the hand calls. I take down the pot. Not a hand that needs a full analysis, but still a noteworthy hand nonetheless. Alright boys, we just ended buybacks. No more buybacks. We got $330 in the prize pool. First place, $165. We got about 70,000 in the stack. We're playing to win. Here we go. Alright, this next hand I have King 10 offsuit. And I wasn't recording from the beginning of the hand, but the +1 player raised to 2,000. We're playing 500, 1,000. We're on level 5. The cutoff called. I called in the button. Both of the blinds called. We went 5 ways to a flop. The flop was 10-10-6. We flopped trips, beautiful flop for us. It checked all the way around on the flop. I decided to check flop because we pretty much have the immortal nuts. There's no real hand that's gonna, draw and get there against us. So we just decided to spring the trap here a little bit by checking. And here we are on the turn. The turn comes the queen of clubs, and the small blind decides to start by leading for 5,000 into 5 players. Shortly after this, the +1 player calls, and the cutoff player calls. This is just music to my ears at this point. We're getting plenty of action with our beautiful hand here. From my perspective, I can do 2 things here. I can call and continue to set the trap, or I can raise my hand and try and get all of the money in right now. I decided that the second option was best. There's 3 other players still in this hand. I think there's a small chance that somebody has a flush draw or some sort of draw that could improve on the river, and I don't want to see that happen. I take my chips and I push them all into the middle. Following this, the small blind and the +1 player both fold pretty quickly, and it's back over to the cutoff, and he goes into the tank for what seems like days. After about 1 to 2 minutes of tanking, this player decides he wants to call, and he puts the rest of his stack in the middle. This player flips over king-queen for turned top pair. He has 2 outs, the board comes clean, a nice little deuce, and we pick up a 102k pot. This was pretty much the deciding factor in the tournament. After we win this, we go on to have 135k in the stack, and we have our sights set on winning this thing. Alright, this next hand, we're in level 6. We're playing 600, 1200 blinds, and there's 6 players left. Top 3 make the money, so no one wants to bust at a time like this. Additionally, we have about 50% of the chips in play, so we're using our gigantic stack to an advantage. We're putting pressure on these short stacks, trying to chip up as much as possible. When we see an under-the-gun limp off a very short stack, we go ahead and raise things to 3,500. It folds to the small blind, who cold calls the 3,500. Folds back over to the limper, and he goes all in for 11,000 altogether. This 11,000 is less than 10 big blinds altogether. Additionally, there's 3,500 in the middle. That's probably dead money from the small blind. I doubt he's going to overcall here. So we pretty quickly rejam our stack, covering everyone. The small blind folds, and we're heads up to a run out for a big pot. This player flips over his hand. He shows us ace-8 offsuit. We're flipping against that with our pocket 5s. Let's go ahead and win an all-in here. Flop comes. 2 aces and a 9. We're in tough shape. Turn is the king. River is the deuce. We lose this all-in. It's a small one, but nonetheless, there's still 6 players left in the tournament. The next few orbits, nothing significant happens. We win a few small pots here and there. However, there is 1 elimination from the table, so we're down to the final 5. Alright, gentlemen. 5 people left. Top 3 get paid. Min cash $65. We got 130k in the stack. Let's win this thing. Another few orbits go by. We chip up even more. We're close to 200k in the stack now. We just have an overwhelming chip lead over everybody. There's another elimination at the table, so we're down to 4. We readjust the seating a little bit. But aside from that, no real major hands. I won a tiny hand here with pocket 10s, and we're just on cruise control at this point. Alright, this next hand, we're in level 9. We pick up pocket 4s. We jam from under the gun. The current table dynamic, the player to our left has about 35, 40, maybe 50k in his stack, about 20, 25 big blinds. But the 2 players to my right have about 10 to 15k in the stack, and then the other one has about 6 or 7,000, so roughly 7 or 8 big blinds, and then 3 or 4 big blinds. So, we're just exercising our right to jam any 2 in most of these spots. They have to call off very tightly because there's only 4 left and top 3 get paid, so there's a lot of ICM pressure on these players to fold and try and get the min cash. So when I jam all in, it pretty quickly folds around to the big blind. He thinks about it for a little bit and eventually flicks in the call. He's got 13.5k in the stack, and we're up against ace-king. Alright, gotta run a flip here. To end the bubble, 4s versus ace-king. Good start. Really good start.
Oh, use diamonds.
Diamonds are allowed.
Wow.
Diamonds are good.
Wow.
Diamonds are good. Ball does not burst.
Quite literally the next hand of the tournament. We look down at queen 10 in the big blind. The button shoves for 12,000. We snap call this. We've got 2 face cards for a 6 big blind jam. Easy call here. Queen 10 versus ace king. 12k to call on flaw to burst the bubble. How about a little queen out there?
Oh!
Bang.
Bubble.
Bubble first, boys. A few hands later, still in level 9, 3 of us left. We're all in the money. The button opens to 4 or 5,000. The small blind rips it all in, and I go all in behind. Eventually, the button player calls too. We're going all in 3 ways here, and I haven't even told you what I have yet.
Oh!
Everybody's all in. We woke up with a monster here. We got pocket 10s. We're up against pocket 9s and ace-6 of clubs. Let's hold. 10s up against 9s, up against ace-6. This is for the win, ladies and gents.
9 in the window.
9. Right
Ooh!
there.
9?
Clubs.
Clubs?
Here.
Clubs have
Oh my
No
God,
way I get
yeah.
last place here.
Clubs!
Club. Hold on, gotta
Pay the
hold,
board.
Hold.
Pay the board.
We ended up in last place here, getting it in best. The short stack had pocket nines, so he is eliminated from the tournament. He got third place for $65. We now secure the pay jump to $100, and now we're playing for it all.
Clubs.
That's
Clubs.
insane.
Yeah.
It was a fat one.
Third.
The next hand of the tournament, we're now playing heads up. This player looks at me in the eyes and says, "Poopy Dookie, I'm going to go all in blind here." I look down at King Queen, and I put all my chips in the middle. We're off to a run out. Got it all in King Queen versus 10-2 for the win.
No clubs.
It's a good start.
Dead.
That's a good turn. Bang. That's ball game, folks. Alright, folks, that's all I got for you today. We ended up winning the tournament for $165 on a $30 buy-in. We were in for one bullet. Really good score for us. If you enjoyed what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe for more videos.